Hello and welcome to my retro watches. If you're new to the channel, my name is Mike, and this episode I'm going to try to restore an Invicta watch. Now this Invicta is not the modern day Invicta the size of Big Ben. Oh no. Invicta actually have quite a long history in watches, and I'll tell you a little bit about the history now, and then we'll cut to the bench and I'll show you the watch. Invicta began as a Swiss watch company, and it was founded by a guy called Raphael Picard in Le Chaux de Fonds in Switzerland in 1837. So there we go, a long time ago. The brand used mechanical hand winding and automatic movements in their watches, and they built up a name for themselves as a quality watch brand right up until the 70s, when the quartz crisis hit and the company went out of business. Like so many other Swiss brands at the time, it was a very, very sad part of history for horology. It had remained a family-owned company throughout all of that time, but in 1991 the name was bought by an investment company in the USA who set about producing quality, affordable watches, and they've been very successful at it. Even if you don't like the modern ones, they're definitely a successful business. The modern day Invicta is not to my taste, as they seem large in size and loud in their design. However, this is just my opinion, and it's based on just seeing photographs, because I've never actually handled one to judge it with my own eyes. But there we go. That is a little bit of history about Invicta watches. So let's get back to the restoration of this one. Okay, so here's the moment you've all been waiting for. Here is the watch. Now, granted, it's not in the best of shape, and you could argue potentially that it's not the best looking watch in the world, but it's an Invicta, and I've never had an Invicta before, and obviously I wanted to put the spotlight on the vintage Invictas and see what they're all about. I do like this day date window here at 6. That's quite unusual, and the the dial looks like it's got some sort of radial finish, possibly textured, along with the case. The case is gold plated for certain, and it is wearing in the obvious corners, but I'm hopeful we can make this look pretty good again. Now it is sold as non-running, but I've already worked out what the problem is, and I'll try to show you now. So if I pull the crown and move the hands, you can see that the second hand starts ticking. I should move it a bit further. So there we go, second hand is ticking, and lo and behold, when the tail end of that gets anywhere near the minute hand, it stops. So it is pretty conclusive. You can see it there as well, look, see the second hand moving. The second hand is just fouling on that minute hand. So I could end the video here, just fix that, but of course we don't want to do that. We want to take the movement apart and see what it's all about. I'm really interested to see the mechanics of this day date function, see how tricky or simple that's going to be. And I honestly don't know what movement is inside this watch. I've not opened it at all, so I have no idea. I'm hoping it's going to be something decent. I did actually ask in the Facebook group if anybody might know before that was before it's turned up, and a lot of people seem to think it might be an ETA, but we'll find out. So here's the case back, and you can see that it's 1837, which is obviously their heritage. So the case back's showing some telltale scars have been opened before. So let's open it now. I've got one of these sticky balls. I don't know if any of you guys have got one of those. That is this. I haven't got sticky balls. But these are really, really good. They seem to be opening lots of case backs for me. Just push it on and turn it. There we go. It's got it straight away. So I'm kind of loving these things. I bought this one from Cousins for about £3 or £4, but I think you can get them cheaper than that on the usual places, eBay and Amazon. So here we go. Is it open? Yes, yes it is. There we go. So we have, just going to grab a tool. We have Invicta written on the rotor there, and what looks to be rust or tarnish. The rotor is actually quite difficult to move, and I can't tell you what movement that is, but equally it looks really nice. It's got some jewels here. Bring it back up to the camera. It's got some nice jewels on the top of the bridge there. So I think it's going to be a pretty decent movement, but at the moment I don't recognise it. Does it say anything on that rotor 25 joules. That's a decent movement then, as far as I'm concerned. But no make. So let's get it out the case, and I'm going to put it on the microscope. Why not? Okay, so here we are on the microscope. Now I have removed the rotor which sat there in the middle of the watch so we can see a little bit more detail. And first thing I want to do is go over to the balance here, and somewhere we're going to have the movement mark. Let's get into focus, and it's just under there. Can I move the balance because I haven't got a lot of room to see? It's an AS. There's an AS movement, and I can't read that reference number very easily, but if you're ever looking for your movement numbers, this is where you normally find them, or the maker's marks, should I say. So it's something 06, isn't it? So 906 or something like that, or actually 4 numbers, I think. So we'd have to remove the balance wheel, which we'll do in due course, of course, and we'll find out. But it's an AS movement. Great. So nice. So let's have a quick inspection. So at a glance, I can see the hairspring looks okay. The actual jewel there, that looks pretty decent as well. Doesn't look too dirty. And normally you've got loads of crud built up in the middle. Dirt. There's lots of dirt. Plenty of dirt in that jewel there. And then these jewels, these look quite interesting because it doesn't look like they are sort of cap jewels that you can remove and clean. They look like they've stuck it in situ. Lots of crap on the top of them. But okay, I'm pleasantly surprised with what I'm seeing so far. Nothing that a good clean isn't going to fix. So no alarming problems. Might make for once for an easier video for me. Who knows? I can see there a nice dreaded spring by the looks of things. So I'm wondering what that's going to be holding together and whether that's going to shoot across my desk when I take it apart. Ever so quickly, let's have a look at the rotor. Only because, yeah, okay, so I didn't know that. I thought it was rust. Maybe you guys did too, but that is not rust, is it? That is some sort of, I don't even know what to think that is. Whether it's bits of human, so it could be, you know, literally DNA from years of use. I don't want to touch it. I'm just going to shove it straight in the cleaner, I think. And then lastly, case back. Have we got any service marks? Is that a service mark there? I'm just so close in with this microscope. Let's just see if I can wind out a bit. That's as far as I can go. Yes, so there's definitely one there. Possibly that scribble thing there is one. So yeah, it's had a couple of services. I don't know how old it is. I'm guessing 70s. Who knows? Okay, let's get on with the disassembly. Okay, I've removed it from its case, and we can see the texture of that dial now, which is quite nice. I don't know what... Oh, that's the Invicta logo there, isn't it? And then you can see, get it in the light, there we go. Second hand fouling. No problem at all. But the texture of the dial is nice. And I thought where it says Tuesday, I thought that was faded, but it isn't. It's actually sort of this gold tinge colour. I guess it's just to go with the gold dial and the gold case. Very nice. So here it is on the time graph, and the trace actually isn't all that bad. You could pretty much adjust that on the regulators and you get that in beat, no problem at all. But obviously it's dry and it's full of crap, so we're still going to service it regardless. But everything so far is telling me that this is going to be quite straightforward, other than the fact I've never done this movement before, as most of the videos on this channel are doing movements that I've never filmed before. So all I need is a bit of luck, and hopefully the watch gods are looking down and I don't lose any springs. So we'll start the disassembly by removing this bridge, the one that I could see a spring in. I'll have to be a little bit careful with that. Now what I've noticed is we have a big screw and a little screw. Big screw was there, little screw was there. Okay, so carefully does it. Now I'll turn it this way because if a spring might go and it might go that way, I've got a chance of finding it. See, there's a lever. Oh, what am I talking about? There's another damn screw. How did I miss that? And then that one is a long screw. Okay, let's try again. There's a little slot here. Oh, and as it turns out, it's all going to come off together. So that is the automatic works. Just take the focal lock off. So I need to have a look a bit closer on that one, see how that operates, and see how it comes apart actually. Because right now I can't see. Maybe it's just held in by friction. Let's put that to one side. So that's a relief. Let's try again now. Yeah, there we go. It's such a small little click, this. It's almost running on the pair of tweezers. I'm trying to be careful. There's a lot of wind. There we go. Okay, watch should be safe. There we go, balance has stopped. Good. So I just picked up that part to have a look, and it all fell apart in my hands, and this piece came out. And that's going to be worrying because I have no idea now where that went. So yes, this plate was just held in by friction. We can see the spring there. And we have a wheel. And this little thing, which obviously takes the power from the rotor by the looks of it. But what that is, right now I don't know. It's some sort of click, I'm guessing. So perhaps it sits in that pivot. I think it must sit in that pivot actually. But right now I just don't know. So great. As I always say, mistakes as they happen, you will see them. I wouldn't say this is a mistake or an accident. It's just the way it was. And it shouldn't be too difficult really, in all fairness, to sort that out. So just like I say, just keep taking a note in my brain now. And hopefully, hopefully I can sort it. I'm just curious to know what that would be. What jewel that would be. If that was sitting there, what was that one? Okay, right. I'm not going to waste your time. We'll figure that one out. So I'm going to remove the balance. That way we can actually find out what the movement reference is. And certainly I might be able to find some instructions on how to build that automatic works. Okay, I'm getting a bit of a glare from the light, but it is an AS, I think 1906. Can I zoom in? Can I zoom in? There we go. Terrible what the light's doing. 1906, yes, definitely. Okay, good. Now the usual click spring there. Whoops, just bashed the camera. So this train bridge here looks pretty grubby, taking a bit of wear, certainly from the rotor. We've got these 3 screws, and that's already coming off, and we'll see what it's like underneath. Okay, that's interesting. Let's just take the lock off again. So we have this part here. I honestly, again, don't know what that is, what that's for right now. It must be something to do with the winding mechanism, I'm guessing. Yeah, it must be. Let's hope it stays on. And then the train itself. Quite an interesting one. We've got quite a few wheels here. That one actually sits like that. So we'll remove all of those, taking note of where they go. And then we're down to the escape. So the wheels are out. We'll take the pallet fork out as well. Now it's another one of these where the barrel gets stuck in the bridge. There we go, it's come out. Good. Okay, so far quite pleased. Hasn't shown me anything too tricky other than that auto works. Quite a nice main plate. Great big hole where the barrel was. So let's turn it over and have a look at the calendar works. Here we are on the other side, and the day disc has actually already fallen off, but I've worked out why. It's got star gear. It's only held in by this little click here, and it's obviously fell off actually while we were taking the other side apart. So I just thought I'd show you that. So where do we start on this side? So we've got some interesting levers going on, all for the date change mechanism. I'm guessing these are the date fingers as always. So I'm just trying to figure out what I've got to take apart and how to get this cover off. I've got 2 screws for that cover. So I think, to be honest, that's the first port of call. Problem I've got, I've just taken those screws out, but I can't see clearly how it comes out. Ah, there we go. Not too difficult. That's a relief. And I think the date disc is now ready to come off, because I think it's come out of its spring, which is there. Or has it? No, it hasn't. Beg your pardon. So we're looking in here. We have a tiny little spring and the click. Sorry, took that at a funny angle, but it's released it nevertheless. And we just have to retrieve the spring. Which doesn't want to come out. Not with those tweezers anyway. So, good old Rodico. Always works. And to be fair, I should try Rodico more often than struggling away. But I'm a bit of a creature of habit. So, okay, that's that bit out the way. I was going to say, I think that's part of the watch, and sure is. So we'll remove that as well. Gives us more access to what's going on. It is actually quite complicated. Just going to try and zoom in a little bit if I can. So just trying to work out how it all works. So that's the click for the date wheel, and this is holding some pressure onto that for some reason. Now my brain is blank. It is nearly 11:30 at night here and I have had a busy day. Okay, let's just try and take it apart. Okay, so I need to remember this and how that sits. And in doing so, it jumped out. What a surprise. Should have thought about that under load. However, there we go. Now we can get the, I said we can get the hour wheel off. That certainly seems to be tight on there as well. So the conundrum is continuing. Why would that not want to come off? So it all comes off together, which in itself is a little bit odd. Let's just take the camera lock off again. So what have we got here? We've got what looks, sorry I keep knocking the camera, got looks to be the cannon pinion and the hour wheel kind of all rolled into one. That is really bizarre. And again, I need to hit Google, I think, to actually understand what's happening with this particular watch. So the last part is one of these. I've dealt with one of these before. They're always spring loaded. There we go. There's a little spring there which you can't remove from the watch. So just the keyless and we're done. We've got the usual spring there. So again, oops, just try and remove the yoke. Keeps the spring safe for us to remove. Once again, I'm off camera. Dear me. And then I'll remove the Setaniva spring screw to release the winding pinion and the clutch. But essentially, guys, that is the movement stripped down. Okay, we have got some small jewels again, which I'll remove for cleaning. But with that, we'll cut to the cleaning montage. I'm going to include that in this particular video. And sorry if some of the shots have been a bit iffy on this particular watch. I don't think I'm filming too well today, but hopefully it doesn't spoil your enjoyment too much. So let's go to the Bren-Ray and clean this watch. Welcome back. This is going to be the assembly, which is always much more difficult than the disassembly, and there is of course one part of this watch that I'm not looking forward to, which is that automatic framework. So we've got to get to that point first, so we just need to rebuild the movement, and of course I'm going to start with the movement side itself. So let's kick it straight off. I need to just put a little bit of D5 in here, just on the edge for the barrel, and we will drop the barrel in like so. And then I don't know the name of this word. I don't know the name of this wheel. It's got a gear on the bottom, and it's going to interact with the barrel there. It won't do it very well on camera because we haven't got the bridge on, but you can kind of see. So I need to put that in place, and then we'll start with the train. So we'll get the escape in. Now I've got to say, I do like this AS movement. It seems to have cleaned up very well, and it sparks my interest because of course the calendar works is a little bit more different to what I'm used to, and the more watches that I've not done before and the more new things I see, I guess the more I learn really, and the more I get satisfaction from the hobby. So we've got to put in the fourth wheel there, that holds the second hand. So the train is in place, but there is one more wheel, and I'm not sure what it's for. I was too busy talking probably in the disassembly. It looks remarkably similar or the same as a minute wheel, if I can even get hold of it. And in actual fact, because it's metal on metal there, we'll just put a little bit of 9010 I'll just seat a little bit on there. So yes, this looks like a minute wheel from the calendar works, because that's what I'm used to seeing on many watches. But obviously it can't be the minute wheel. It must have something again to do with the automatic works perhaps, and hopefully we might be able to solve that little riddle when I get a bit further into the assembly. So I have the barrel bridge there. Now we'll do some oiling hopefully on the microscope in a bit, but I just want to get a bit of D5 just to flow into there. Okay, 2 screws. Train wheel bridges are always a little bit more challenging. And the idea generally is to place them where you want them so you don't disturb the wheels. So we are fouling on something. And to be honest, it's not lined up properly at all. So I've got to come right over this way. So we got some pivots out somewhere. And it's quite a blinding bridge actually. I can't really see into it anywhere to ascertain what is not in position. Obviously I can see it's rocking here. So it's a case of trying to tease the wheels that you can see. Okay, I'll drop it on the microscope. Before I put it on the microscope, it actually fell into place. It's a bit lucky. You might be able to hear that, but they are running nice and smoothly. I will put it on obviously for when we're going to oil the pivots, but I just want to get a few extra pieces on. So we'll start with the winding. I can't even say it. The crown wheel and the ratchet wheel. So we'll start with a click there. Really small click on this, with an equally even smaller screw, and with the reflections I'm getting, I can't even see it. First of our springs. Now I'm using this new digital microscope, and the next video I'll be doing is a review on this very tool, because I'm finding it quite useful. It's got some limitations in places, but in the main I think it's pretty good. So there we are, that's sitting in the jewel, so we could just put the pallet cock on and then we're good to go. So the pallet cock is installed. You can see the pivots in the jewel there, and I won't oil that jewel, and the reason is that the oil over time will congeal and it will stop the pallet fork very easy. So there's a kind of a trade-off. If you oil it, it actually might over oil and you might slow the movement down as well. So it's best kept dry in my opinion. So we can just see now that it should click freely from side to side with minimal effort. There we go. So I've got a little bit of power that I've wound in to the movement. So I can now test to see if it's going to run. There we go. Always enjoy that. It just the impulse jewel had just overridden the pallet fork there, so I had to just adjust it to get it going. But happy. Always great to see the watch run for the first time so quickly as well. But that means that we're ominously getting closer and closer to the dial side. So I'm going to tighten that screw up and we'll carry on. So I am running a little bit blind on this movement. I've got no crib sheet to work from. So I'm going to put a bit of D5 on here, ready for the washer. And then I'm also going to put a bit of D5 on the outside of the washer. I'm probably doing it wrong, but to me it's all a friction point. So we can now drop that on, get it meshing with the gears. And then we have a left-handed thread screw. So just quickly, I'm starting to get a little bit baffled as to how this is going to work. I'm in no way a pro at all, as I always say. So that little wheel that I thought was like a minute wheel, it's obviously engaging with the crown wheel. And so what is it doing exactly? Obviously the ratchet wheel, well, I don't know now. The ratchet wheel will ratchet when you wind it, and it has to have something to do with the automatic works, how the automatic transfers its power. But at the moment I'm still a little bit at a loss. So the dial side, going to be a bit tricky I think, and I'm going to wing it a little bit because I can't quite remember where everything went. Got the cannon pinion, which I have already lubed the shaft it sits on there, just put a bit of D5 on it. And you might remember that this came off complete with the bridge and the hour wheel. Well, they did separate quite easy once I took them off, so I thought I'd better tell you that. And clearly the cannon pinion doesn't click into position on this one, it just rests because I've just tried to push it. And then we have this, which is in theory the minute wheel, and I have to get it over this spring. Hopefully you can see that's blocking that hole. Looks tricky, but I've done one of these before, and generally you just go in on the side. There we go. See, that's got the springiness in it. So we're good to go there. And then we had a bridge. And the bridge has found its spot straight away. Now what is throwing me a little bit here is I do remember that it, as much as got 2 screws, I think one of the other screws doubled down as something else as well. So I'm going to put one in this hole here. And we will have this little wheel here, which is not going to focus, is it? No. So that's the winding pinion and the clutch. And I need to grease it, and I'm going to use some new grease. I've got some S4 Seiko, which I bought for the video on the what is it, the Seiko ball head. So this is like a graphite grease, I believe, and I can use it on here. And I've got myself in a right mess because it's now stuck and it's turned over as well. No, it hasn't. I've never used this grease before, and it's not easy. It seems to just stick to the to the oiler. So showing this on camera has been a complete disaster. Right. So the crown's in, all good there. And now I'll just need to fit the yoke. And I'm just trying to put a little bit of 9010 on that post that the yoke fits on. And we have that wheel there, which when all in properly will engage with the minute wheel and wind. So this is the set-in lever, goes into that slot there and here. So again, I just need to put some grease in those. Honestly, this new grease is really strange. And another spring in, and now I can't remember how the set-in lever came out. And it has to have been like so. I'm a bit off camera. Okay, so that was a little bit of a faff. Managed to grease it with that black grease again. You can probably just see it there, just here. But all those functions, he says, are working. So that we can wind the watch. And then we can set the time, see the wheels going. So all's good with the keyless. Okay, let's go on this side, and we have this metal ring to start with. I've already eyed it up. Of course, it would help if I put it in the right way. And that just sits on the movement. It's got a slot cut out slightly either side for where the dial feet are going to go. So it's just a case of trying to line that up a little bit, like that. Bit of 9010 just on the side of the cannon pinion there. And we'll drop on the hour wheel. Just making sure it's meshing. Okay, so right, I've kind of had a little reference back just to make sure I know where everything goes, and so I've got a good idea. So I'm going to start with part of, I was going to say, I'm going to start with part of the calendar works. This bit just fits on here. And I've put a little bit of that black grease. I don't think it's going to come out on camera, but I put a little bit of black grease just in there. Because this spring interacts with that part. And I guess I've got to be a little bit careful putting the screw in, that once it's under tension, it doesn't want to go flying across the room. So I'll just do the screw up. Okay, that spring is now engaged just in there, and we will fit the date change wheel, I guess you can call it that, the date fingers. And well, actually, I'm just suddenly thinking, I'm sure I should probably bring in the date ring at this point, or else things can start getting quite tricky. And already I'm questioning how the date wheel is going to interact with this wheel. Well, it must do, mustn't it? Okay, I'm going mad. So that finger there is going to move the day wheel, and the date wheel, of course, is on a spring up here. I still don't know how this bit interacts with it. So I guess all will be revealed once I fit all the parts. Okay, let me investigate a little bit further first. Okay, so I've worked it out. It's quite interesting, actually. When you look at the bottom of this wheel, let's just see if I can get it in focus for you. You can see there's that other finger there. I didn't notice that at all. So it kind of acts as a little bit of a cam. So when you are turning the crown, you're essentially turning this wheel, and then it acts with this lever, and it will pull the lever down, which then releases the date wheel once the spring's in place. Hopefully that will make sense, probably to a lot of you straight away, but to those who don't, then I'll just rebuild the rest of it now and then you'll understand. So if I just now wind this, see the arm raising now? Bang, there we go. Nice and straightforward, not overcomplicated. I like it. Okay, on with the build. And then we just need to put the cover over the top of that to start with. Hold it securely in place. Two screws. So the last part was this, and I got a feeling that's where it went. It's the only screw hole left. Okay, that screws in and that just sort of tucks underneath there to get it springiness. So that's for the date wheel, which I'll put on afterwards because it fell off in the disassembly and I don't want it to fall off again. So for now, we've now got to try and assemble that dreaded automatic wind work. So I'm going to flip it over and we'll get on with that. Okay, here we go for the bit that I'm not looking forward to. Now, I have been fortunate in the sense that I put a play out in the Facebook group and somebody sent me a photo of how this AutoWorks should look, or roughly should look. It's from a slightly different model, but it was very, very helpful. So I've already pre-done a tiny amount of it. I'm just going to bring it into shot. So if I bring it in here, to switch off the focus lock. So firstly, this is the bit that the rotor sits on, and that actually came out in cleaning and was a real pain because to put it back in on the other side, you have to sort of, it's hard to say, you've got to line it up and turn it in, which was a real pain in the backside. It took me ages to do. And then we've actually got two springs, one at either side of here, and I've put those in as well because they were particularly nasty things. In theory they were easy to fit, but the blooming thing kept on moving around, made it quite challenging. So now is the time to offer it up to the movement. Now it does have two locating pins underneath, which in theory should help. That one's definitely in. There we go, that's just sat home. So now I've got to be pretty careful with what I do. We have 3 parts to fit. One is this wheel, which I know has got a pinion on it. Don't think you can see that. And obviously that's going to transfer the rotor power to the mainspring. I then have 2 other components. And this particular one looks like a type of click. And from what I can gather from the photographs, that I can't pick the blooming damn thing up because it's so small. That one is going to be in that jewel there, and then likewise this one is going to be in position here. Well, actually that one looks like it's just gone straight in. I'm unsure about the spring though. So that's... So the spring has to be the other side of that. You can't see it, I don't think. It's got to be on the side of here. There's a little flat piece. So I can see these parts are going to be absolute blooming nightmare. So kind of got to put it in. And now it's upside down. Right. I've built myself up for this to be my problem part. And it's going to live up to it now because I've wound myself up about it. And the spring's flown out already. Luckily, I've found it. So it's going to be tricky, isn't it? Definitely going to be tricky. And now the whole thing wants to move again. And what I guess it's my gripe, you know, when you work on Seikos, you find out how they simplified the automatic works with those pull lever fingers. And then you get something like this, which is just... Well, I guess, you know, it'll work, but getting it all lined up and in position is going to be a right pain in the bum. So I'm going to have to now, I think, almost take it off and put that spring in. You know, or do I assemble it on my bench and then try and get the top on? It's just, too much. So I'm going to play around with this and see how I get on. Okay, sorry, but I didn't record all of that, and I think I was just too engrossed. I didn't press record. It did take about 15 minutes all the same. A bit of messing about. Not 100% sure if it works. Just excuse the light reflection. It's annoying me. Let me just see if I can switch one off. That doesn't help, does it? But either way, look, if I wind... You can see now that this little wheel here is going round, and also the one inside there. What I had to do, kind of got it roughly lined up as good as I could possibly, and then I laid the top on, and with the top on I lightly put some screws in, and I was just able to manipulate that like click spring part, and managed to get it into the teeth of that gear. So I was really pleased, and then quickly tightened it up. So I'll have to put the rotor in at some point to double check that that's all right, but I think it is. It doesn't feel like it's binding anywhere, so job done, and I can sigh of relief. But I'm sorry, I did spoil that for you guys, really, but there we go. So onwards and upwards, get the dial on, get the hands on. Let's carry on. Now the date disc, I'm going to put on there. I can just see click there, so I'm going to hold it down, just use an old broken oiler, and should be able to just tickle that up. There we are, in position. Nice. So there we go. The second hand I've just tweaked. Probably sitting just a tad proud at that tail end. But it's enough now to clear the minute hand. So happy with that, that's all good. So need to clean the case up, put a new crystal in, and then we can put it on the time graph. So here we are on the time graph. And this is the sort of trace we're going to get. That looks all right. Okay, it does need some tweaking, but I'm prepared to do that. So I'm going to just try and tweak it on camera a little bit as best I can. You might get a shot of my hand, that's the only problem. Let's see if I can move this a little bit over. So the beat error is a little bit out. And as you can see, the lines have now got a lot closer together. Now those lines are about perfect, so we just need to improve the rate. There we go. So just a couple of minute little nudges. The rate's just slowing slightly, but we need to check it in a few more positions. But so far, so good. I've now got it so the crown is pointing down. And you can see we're losing again a bit more there. I don't think it's 9, I was going to say it's more like something bigger, so 19. So then we'll turn it round. Whoops, wrong way. We'll turn it round to crown up. Basically just trying to make sure that it is fairly consistent, even if it's losing time as it is. If it's consistent, we know the balance is all right. And this is a particularly stressful angle to have it on now, as far as I'm aware. So crown up, so you can see obviously it's increased the beat error a little bit. I'm sure if I left it running for 20 minutes it might improve. So we can just check another angle, and again that one's okay. So I've just moved it down 45 degrees, and then hypothetically I can turn it like that. You can't see it, but that would be dial up. So again, pretty consistent. It's losing a lot of time, or 30 seconds. Yet strangely, I guess when we come back to that position, we're going to get a straight line. So the idea is really now just to kind of offset that a little bit. So perhaps on dial down, we get it running a little bit faster, and that might counteract some of it. And really this should be done over a little bit of time as well, just to give it a chance to get up to speed and everything else. But I'm just trying to demonstrate at least how I go about this. Oops, that's really delicate, this regulating arm. Doesn't need much. Look at that now, it's racing away. So I have to bring that back down. So there we go. What do we have? Just wait for the time graph to kick in, give us a time. Plus 16. So just go through the motions again. Crown down. So we're gaining And that's a slightly lesser angle, isn't it, as you can see. So of course, if we now wrote all these numbers down over a set period of time, you could give a consistent accuracy in all positions to say just how accurate the watch is. Okay, so we're going to go back, put the crown up. So I certainly think, just at a glance anyway, that I've improved it to make it a little bit more regular in all areas. Okay, the beat error is always going to be out by the looks of it at crown up, and I'm not going to adjust that. That's consistent, isn't it? 4 seconds. That's good. Let's just try. I don't like the dial down position. If I could bring that in, you can see that this way. It never seems to give it a good reading to me. So again, the beat error is out. But again, I just think just leave it running for a while. It's going to sort itself out. So I'm bring it back to dial up. And off we go again. So there is slight deviation. That can be a bit of wear. It could be all kinds. I mean, I don't know how old this watch is. But at the moment, I'm going to say that's a win. So let's choose a strap. Right, it's choose the strap time, and out with the Vario strap roll. I absolutely love this thing, I have to say. It's like a medieval toolkit, but full of watch straps. There we go. So now you get to see the watch for the first time, and here it is. I have to say these raised indices are absolutely phenomenal. Look at them. The dial, hopefully you come out there, you can see the kind of texture and the starburst, or whatever you'd like to call that finish. Applied logo, all very, very nice. I'm actually quite pleased with how that's come out. Certainly a little bit of auto sol, metal polish. Obviously it's blended in where the plating had worn away. And of course that will tarnish again over time, but it's dead easy just to bring it back. So there we go, really, really impressed. I do like the look. So let's find a strap for it. Now, I have got a thing for brown straps rather than black straps. I know black and gold for many people is the colour of choice, but not for me. Not for me. Now, I still want to use this Harris tweed one for a watch one day, but I somehow don't think it's going to be this one. So we have another one of these. I think I put the same one on the last watch restoration, so I can't do that. I do like a lizard. That's probably a little bit too military. Green. No. I actually quite like that. I actually quite like that one. There we go. So perhaps I'll choose that. Bit of alligator. It's not a real alligator. It is just leather with an alligator print on it. So let's stick it on that and see what it looks like. Right guys, here is the finished watch. Absolutely love the sort of texture and the starburst on that dial. The indices are really, really cool too. The handset with the black stripe, the indices have got little black markings on the sides as well, plus that day date window at 6. Absolutely brilliant. Watch looks so much better than it did to start with. I've really enjoyed restoring this Invicta. It's my first time looking at one of these, as I've said already, and hopefully it won't be my last. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, of course, please give me a thumbs up, because that tells Google's algorithm that it's a good video and it will show my channel to more people. Also, leave comments down below. I'll read every one and I'll comment to as many as I can. Don't forget to visit my site. Look at the tool page, especially if you're looking to buy some tools. Affiliate links are there. And don't forget to join the Facebook group as well, Retro and Vintage Watches and Restorations. I'll see you all in there, and I'll see you soon for the next video, which is coming very, very soon indeed. Thank you. Bye for now.